Hello and welcome to the Alliance Pro Wrestling Network Sunday special interview. Very excited today because on the show we have a 15-year veteran in the world of pro wrestling. Very happy to welcome Black Dynamite, Jeremy Prophet. Jeremy, welcome to the show, man.
Oh, well, thank you very much for having me, Lewis. I appreciate that great introduction. Yeah, I have been doing this for 15 years, and I look forward to taking a few of your viewers to church here and imparting some knowledge on them, because after all, I am the anointed one, Jeremy Prophet.
Okay.
So, yeah, let's get this show on the road.
All right, let's do it, man. So, first of all, I want to say great ECW podcast last week. I was watching. You talked about ECW, Guilty as Charged. I heard during the podcast you said you used to watch ECW on videotapes, you used to swap tapes. I actually was born in Queens, New York, and I actually went to the original ECW shows at the Elks Lodge in Queens. So it was very cool to see that you have appreciation for ECW, man.
Oh, yeah, definitely. ECW was a big driving force to me wanting to get into wrestling, because right around that time, it was underground. It was something not a lot of people knew because it wasn't available on basic or even special cable up here in Montreal. So I was fortunate that I had a friend of the family that got TNN, the Nashville network at the time, and they were willing to record episodes and ship them up to me here in Montreal. So I was able to actually see ECW. I had read about it, like in Pro Wrestling Illustrated magazine. I would see pictures and stuff, and every time it would be on pay-per-view, we try to catch it. But it was great being able to get those extra episodes so I could follow along, and I discovered tons of great talents. Rob Van Dam, Jerry Lynn, Sabu, even guys like New Jack, the Sandman, which maybe is not reflected necessarily in my wrestling style, but I could appreciate what they were doing because it was so different than what you were seeing on mainstream wrestling. And when I perform, I love the extreme side of it. I've been in hardcore matches, ladder matches, street fights, all of those things. And I love it because wrestling needs that level of violence so that people can see that and see that, a wrestler is a superhuman being. A wrestler is someone not like the average person who walks down the street, slips on ice, and, has to spend a few days lying in bed. We're wrestlers. We're like living, breathing stuntmen, but we're not just stuntmen. We're the lead actors. And, we like to go out there, lay it all on the line for the fans who are paying their hard-earned money because they deserve that good of a show.
All right, man. That's fantastic answer, man. Fantastic.
And like I said, I'm taking your viewers to church today.
You're taking me to you're taking me to church today too, man. But I actually I remember watching Taz choke out a young Chris Jericho at the Elks Lodge way back. It was probably 94, 95, but that's a great memory. Who was your favorite? Who was your favorite ECW talent? I was a Taz guy.
By far, Rob Van Dam.
Okay.
For me watching the whole effing show, that was where it was at, because every time you saw RVD in there, the match was always going to deliver. It didn't matter if he was fighting a guy like Mike Awesome, who was twice his size. It didn't matter if he was in there with Sabu, who had a similar skill set. RVD was my man when it came to ECW. And when he made that jump over to the WWE and suddenly everyone started getting on board, I was like, well, yeah, people, come on here. Did you not see him in ECW? Obviously, this guy's the man. So RVD was my number one guy, followed very closely by Sabu, because Sabu was like the most indestructible thing. He had the aerial ability. He just seemed like a dangerous wild man, but he was also a great athlete in there, and it was like nothing could hurt this guy. And when you paired those two up, man, it was nothing short of magic.
All right, man. And on the podcast, you talked about a match at the, I think it was Carrot Cup against Tommy Dreamer and Rhyno, and you said you took an incredible gore. So tell me about that match. What was it like being in the ring with the ECW legends?
Well, before even getting to the match, and I don't want to make it too long-winded, but I've never really been asked about that, and it's one of my favorite stories in professional wrestling. And that actually starts, I'd say, probably about a month before Carrot Fest even happened. I happened to be on a show in Cornwall, Ontario, and I'd spoken with some guys, and they had said, hey, we're going to be making the drive down from Montreal to, I always get this town wrong, and, you're in Ontario, right? I think you're out of Windsor, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm in Windsor, yes, Windsor.
Windsor, okay. So you may be able to correct me on this. If not, I'm sure someone like Ruffy Silverstein can definitely correct me. But I always confuse Brantford and Brampton, and there's a ton of these towns, just outside of the Toronto area that kind of have these similar names. But I want to say, I think Carrot Fest was in Brantford. And so these guys told me that they were making the drive down from Montreal. and they needed someone else to maybe come along with them. I really forget the circumstances of why they asked me, but they asked me to go along, and they told me to contact Ruffy. I called him up because I had known Ruffy for years, never been in the ring with him, but I knew him. I'd been on enough shows with him. And he said, yeah, we're doing the Carrot Cup. But he said, right now, we don't have a spot for you, but you're more than welcome to come down anyways. I'll see if I can pull a few strings and find you a spot. I was like, sure, no problem. Now, I was not a rookie by that point. I was someone who had been in this business, I would say, probably about 7 years or so. And so I just said, yeah, whatever, I'll come down for the ride because I got nothing that week, and I like to wrestle more than anything. So I'd rather be on the road with potential of wrestling than, sitting at home or, spending the day at the gym, which is, pretty much all I do. So I went down to the show, or I was supposed to go down. Literally 2 days before the show, the two guys I'm supposed to go down with, they canceled. So now Ruffy calls me and he says, hey, those guys are supposed to go down with, I had them plan to go to my main event and stuff, but, can maybe you come down with a partner? Long story short, I called up my best friend, a wrestler by the name of Genesis. We drove down. We ended up taking their spot in the tournament, going right to the finals. Now, keep in mind, I was just going down on a prayer and his goodwill that maybe I was going to get a spot. Lo and behold, over the course of the two shows, we end up going through 3 rounds of the tournament, getting to the finals, now wrestling Tommy Dreamer and Rhyno, which is a dream come true because I used to watch those guys in ECW. Rhyno is a straight up killer. Tommy Dreamer, never say die, the heart and soul of ECW. Now I'm in there going toe to toe with them. And it was fun. It was a great fight. And I came out on the losing end of it, but like I always say, you can't lose them all. And I think what I lost in terms of the match, I gained in terms of experience, and I gained in terms of being able to tell a hell of a story to you and your viewers. And I will say that gore, it is no joke. It damn near tore me in half. And I think I may have wanted to try to roll with the momentum because he hit me with it, and I like moonsaulted with it and then gave the people a finish to that tournament that they will never forget, no doubt.
Okay, it is Brantford, by the way, not Brampton. There, you're correct. It was Brantford for
like I said, the one thing that reigns true in life, you can't lose them all.
There you go, man. There you go. So let's go back to the beginning. Let's go back to the beginning for you. When did you first realize that you wanted to be a professional wrestler, and what was the reason for you making that decision?
Well, I can't pinpoint the exact minute I said I want to be a professional wrestler, but somewhere around the time I was about 7 years old, I saw wrestling for the first time, and I was hooked. Never missed an episode since. Wanted to know everything about it. It's like I say, I possess a PhD and several master's degrees in the art of professional wrestling and entertainment, and throw in a little bit of expertise in unarmed combat as well. But with that said, I just loved everything about wrestling, and I said that this is what I want to make my living doing. This is what I want to dedicate myself to. I don't want to be a guy wearing a suit and tie working at a desk for the rest of his life. I want to be a professional wrestler. I want to entertain people who were like me, who were wrestling fans. And so I knew around the time I was finishing high school that I was going to pursue this, whether I had to move out west and go to the Hart Dungeon, which probably wasn't even the Hart Dungeon at the time, but was still the only option I had known of until one of my friends told me that he had just, or his younger brother had just joined Jacques Rougeau's wrestling school here in Montreal, and they were looking to take new students. So that was an open door that I jumped at right away and never looked back ever since. So yeah, 15 years of doing this, wrestling every week, working the independents, if you will, lots of highs and lows, but it all started back in training back in the late 2003, which was the first time I got in the ring, took my first bumps, ran the ropes, and then learned the ropes.
All right. So how soon after training did you feel comfortable to have your first match? And what was it like standing behind that curtain for the first time, about to hit the ring for the first time? You must have been nervous, man.
I was ready to go right from the get-go. I kind of thought that, I didn't know how the business worked, and I didn't know how wrestling worked. I kind of thought that we go in and wrestle. And obviously, there's some mechanics that need to be learned. But to say when I felt comfortable, that question is interesting because, I was ready to go. To this day, I'm still the biggest wrestling fan I know. And it did take, I would say, let me just do the actual calculation here just for accuracy's sake. 4 months into my training, I did my first match. And like I said, I felt comfortable. And it's one thing that I always say to people is that, for me, I'm not nervous behind the scenes, because as soon as the lights go on, you walk out that curtain, that's the fun time for me. I'm soaking up the moment. I'm taking whatever spotlight and I'm putting it on me. I'm loose, I'm comfortable, and I always remember to have fun. So there wasn't a lot of nerves, but I will say it's fortunate that I was very protected in my first match, because I wasn't sent out there, one-on-one, 15, 20 minutes, tear the house down. I was out in a 3-on-3-on-3 tag team match. So I guess a 9-man, 3-team elimination tag team match.
Okay.
And so I had a lot of other good brothers in there to share the workload with. So it wasn't as though I was just out there on my own. For all I know, that could have been a disaster. But fortunately, they had the foresight to say, we have a lot of new guys. I think everyone was maybe about 1 or 2 years in the business at that point in that match. So we took care of each other. It wasn't a large burden on any of us, mentally or physically. And it gave me a chance to go in, get the taste of being in front of the crowd, get a few good things in. I literally only did about 3 moves in the whole match, but, still was able to get a great reaction out of the audience, and, leave us all kind of wanting more for the next time we're all in there. So I think it was a good debut, all things considered.
Okay, man. Cool. So I'm actually reading Bob Backlund's book right now. I don't know if you've read it yet, but great book. But as he was starting his career, he used to have to sleep in the trunk of his car while he was trying to make it. Did you have to do anything that extreme when you were first starting out?
Oh, of course. I would say in my second year of wrestling, so I started full time in 2005. In 2006, I was already doing the winter tours for a promoter by the name of Ernie Todd out of Manitoba.
Okay.
He's actually the person who gave me the name Jeremy Prophet. A year into the business, I'm out there in northern Manitoba, northern Saskatchewan, just practically Nunavut, or the Northwest Territories, I should say, right away within my first year. And there were times, we're sleeping in the ring truck, we're getting to the venue, we're sleeping on gym mats, under the ring because it's really cold. I stayed in an airport, and people will think, oh, an airport, well, that's not too bad. Well, no, this is like a cargo airport. This is like where they deliver the food and the supplies to the village of 30, 40 people. I stayed in there, and you had 2 choices. You had a bunk bed, one of which had no mattress, just a metal frame. The other one had one of the dirtiest mattresses you'll ever see, and no accompaniments whatsoever. So, I've stayed in some dank, stank, dirty places in my career. And I've done drives on the road that have been sometimes close to 30 hours driving 30 kilometers, because if you drive any faster, you risk hitting ice. And if you drive any slower, you risk getting stuck in the snow. So I'm very fortunate. I experienced that early in my career, because I feel like if anyone can go through that, everything else you're going to experience in wrestling is going to be nice and cushy. So, you got to reflect on where you are in life when you're driving down an ice road that could collapse at any moment, and you could end up going down into the ice cold water and dying from hypothermia. So that, I think, toughened me up. I think that really calloused me as a performer, so that I was able to say and look at myself and give myself an actual reality check and say, do I want this? And the fact of the matter is if that's what I would have to live every day, it was always worth it to be able to perform and wrestle and reap the rewards and benefits, even if I had to go through tough times and struggles that would break the average human being.
So you must have some terrific road stories to tell, man. Do you have a favorite that you want to talk about right now, or?
We can talk about anything you want. You want to know about the winter tours? You want to know about other places I've been? Pick your poison, my friend.
No, just a great road story. Just just tell me a great road story, man. And a great winter tour road story.
Okay. Well, when it comes to the winter tours, one of my favorite ones was the first show that we did of that same tour. Keep in mind, I'm only about a year in the business, but I had a great crew that I traveled with. I remember them to this day. Wrestler from Ontario, Chris Thorne, he was the veteran on the tour. Another wrestler, the Asian Nightmare, Quan Chang, he was also one of the veterans on there. And I was the young new babyface. So we were doing this one show on a native reserve, and we decided that we would have me go over in one of the opening matches and then come out, make a save at intermission. And then we would have it all break down into a 6-man tag to take the show home. That was our standard show. We ran the show. Whole town turned out. and they demanded that we come back. We put on another show. Promoter said, hey, we got some time. We could even do a show tomorrow if you guys would want to go for it. So on the spot, they made another show the next day. So we're doing the follow-up to that show. So being that I was one of the baby faces and I was, younger and, people were starting to get behind me. I was, we can't just say we're all over, but I mean, I was pretty over with the fans. My favorite moment from that show is when I'm taking the heat in the 6-man. So typical heat, heels are all getting their chance to beat on me. My partners are trying to come in, ref is distracted. So we run this big spot where pretty much there's a distraction going on in the ring. I get tossed out of the ring. Thorne grabs the chair and he's sneaking up on me, and he has every intention of hitting me with the chair, and he's supposed to hit me with the chair. And at that point, a fan runs up and grabs the chair from him. Shoot, grabs the chair. Not supposed to happen. He gets mad. He turns around. He grabs the chair back from the fan, turns back around to hit me, and the fans actually form a wall in front of me. They form an actual wall of people saying, we're not going to let you hurt him. We're not going to let you hurt Jeremy. And there's a standoff now between about 10 fans and him in an arena full of about 150 people, and now more are getting up, and now fans are helping me up, and they're helping me back into the ring, and they're losing control of it. And I just thought that was such an awesome moment that these people all rallied behind me organically because they didn't want to see me get beat up anymore, especially with the chair. And I love that story. It was good times. They even did I had the idea. I just said it as a joke. I said, I'm pretty popular with the kids. Why don't we do like a auction off, like, I don't know, pizza dinner with me with the fans there? And they actually held an auction. And I think they spent up to $200 or $300 just to eat pizza with me after the first show. So, I mean, it was fun times. It was definitely funny. It was a lot of good times on the road. And I was fortunate that I was around a good crew of people. But more than anything, it was a learning experience that was invaluable to today.
Great story, man. Great story, man. So, so I'm sorry. Where was that again? Where was that?
Man, that was somewhere in northern Manitoba.
Okay.
I have a little book that I have at home that has all my dates and everywhere I've wrestled in it. The name would probably be in there, but God is my witness. I could not pull that name out truthfully today for you, but definitely northern Manitoba. And I'm sure if you hit up Ernie Todd, he might be able to tell you, because I'm sure he's got extensive records of all that.
Okay, very cool, man. Very cool. So being from Canada, I believe you're from Montreal. Do you feel major promotions are not capitalizing on the great talent that we have here in Canada?
Can you repeat that question again, sir?
Just as you're from Canada, do you feel that the major promotions are not capitalizing on the great talent, great professional wrestling talent that we have here in Canada?
Oh, 100,000%. I mean, not an interview goes by where I don't say it. We have some of the best talent in the world, and it's going untapped. I mean, in professional wrestling, I watch just about every major company out there, and I see the caliber of talent. And I know that here in Canada, I've crossed paths with guys that could easily give those top guys a run for their money. We have guys that could be future main eventers, future champions, future Hall of Famers here in Canada. And we unfortunately don't get those same opportunities because, we can't legally go and perform in the United States of America, which, it is the biggest stage in the world. We unfortunately can't go there and perform and get to rub shoulders and make those same connections and networking with these people. But more importantly, we can't go there and show the fans that we can compete. So we're kind of here in our own little microcosm, competing against each other, refining our skills, perfecting our hustle, but at the same time, not being seen. And when it comes down to it, it doesn't matter what you can do if, unfortunately, no one knows who you are. So I think I'm a good example of the fact that there's either extremely piss poor scouting in a lot of the major companies when it comes to Canada, if there is even any scouting at all. Because if there are, I'd love to know, who are the scouts for Canada? Who are these people? And I would even love to have them come on my show, on Jofo in the Ring, or here on your show and talk to me. Doesn't have to be a debate, but I'd love to have a friendly discussion as to what the procedures are in terms of the scouting that goes on throughout Canada. Because from Vancouver to St. John, I don't know where there are talents that are getting funneled into these systems and getting those same opportunities, getting those tryouts, getting those looks, as they say. I certainly have not come into contact with any of these people, but maybe it's also a case of I've not made a lot of noise about it. But, you know, when you look at the UK, you look at India, you look at these places, a lot of the big companies, they're actively going in there and scouting. Unfortunately, here in Canada, where we have talent just as good, and if you think about it, you know, we can use any company as an example. We could even look at, you know, you cover Impact. WWE's headquarters is in Stanford. Their base of operations and development is in Orlando. If you think about it, let's say we'll use Windsor, Ontario as an example. Windsor, Ontario, closer in proximity to both of those places than San Diego, California. Mm-hmm. Closer in proximity to those places than Aberdeen, Washington. You know, the fact is we are so close, but because of border regulations and restrictions, we cannot go and perform. Even if you say you're going and you're not getting paid, they still have the right to detain you. I am living proof. I've been turned away while going and not making a dime. I've had to deal with, you know, searches and questioning. And there's an extensive process to get a work visa whereby you would need a top company to kind of endorse you. If not, then, you know, you need a lot of proof and other documents and whatnot to justify that you are superior to an American. So you're not taking a job away from them. You have a lower impact on the overall labor force, and so on and so forth. So it's a lot of red tape and rigmarole to be able to go there. A lot of people think, oh, well, you know, maybe you're just not good enough. And it's like, well, look, my body of work speaks for itself. There's a lot of people in a lot of places making a lot of money that could never lace my boots. And I've always said I'm just the run to the litter. There are literally hundreds of guys with exceptional abilities here not getting the proper scouting. And so that's why I say I would love to know who is in charge of scouting Canada. It's very clear in a lot of the major companies who's in charge of scouting the UK and Europe, who's in charge of scouting Mexico, and so on. But who are these people looking at Canada? Who are they? Because I'd love to talk to them. I'd love to meet them and maybe help to enlighten them as to how they could do their job better. Hell, if they want me to do the job, I could do the job too. But, you know, I'm not the kind of person who wants to get somewhere just for me and leave people in the dark. And I think a lot of people who have made it have unfortunately, you know, not done things to help the next generation follow in their footsteps. And again, I don't want to be talking down to anybody, but the facts are the facts. Why is it that a company like, let's say Ring of Honor, for example, why is there only one Canadian in Ring of Honor? As far as I see, there are tons of people from the UK, Australia, Mexico. Why is there only one Canadian? A company like MLW, which I believe you cover MLW. Am I right?
That's correct. Yes.
That's correct. MLW, a company that deletes my posts on Twitter when I post on their messages talking about Canadians and how, you know, we could maybe do some good business to help change that. I digress. Why is there only one Canadian? And that was only brought to my attention from George, who I think you do some work with there on Straight Talk.
That's correct.
That there is only one Canadian in MLW. So, you know, who is taking a look at us? Who is going to finally say, hey, let's look at Canada. They got the goods. They got some people that should be getting their Hall of Fame rings in a couple of years, but unfortunately, they haven't been given the stage. I always say, I don't look at myself and say that I'm any lower or not as good as people I see on TV. All they've had is a stage to actually show their talents. I just haven't been given a big enough stage and a bright enough spotlight. But I know my day will come, and I ain't going to stop making noise about it.
I mean, let's talk about impacts. I mean, Scott D'Amore, VP from Windsor, Ontario, owner of Border City Wrestling. You would think that with all that in place, that he would use Border City Wrestling as a developmental, at least for Impact Wrestling, to look for stars up here in Canada. Would you agree with that? That Border City Wrestling?
Well, look, I don't.
Go ahead.
Well, you know, funny story. I actually went to train with Scott back in 2004, late 2004. I could even maybe, you know, when you release this episode, I can give you some pictures if you want to edit them and splice them in. I can show you a young prophet, a young harbinger of truth alongside Scott D'Amore. And I appreciate all the things that he taught me at Border City. I can't imagine to be in his head and know what he thinks. And to a certain degree, I don't think he's done that bad of a job with Impact, because as far as I know, I think they have 6 Canadian wrestlers on their roster. And I am the biggest advocate against nepotism. So I don't believe that we should be given any preferential treatment. I just think that we should be given an equal playing field. You know, a lot of people like to try to label me and say that, you know, I'm pessimistic in my outlook, but I'm not pessimistic and I'm not optimistic. What I am is realistic. That's what makes me the harbinger of truth, because I give the harsh realities. And the harsh reality is that we don't have anything close to a level playing field to be able to showcase our talents as Canadians. And when it comes down to it, someone like Scott not giving preferential treatment to Canadians, that might be a good thing because it might be seen as a conflict of interest on his end. However, being able to level that playing field, knowing what we have to go through and knowing we can't showcase our talents with the best, we can't just put in the work and climb the ranks. There needs to be a way that people can look at us to be able to see, hey, this person can bring value to my programming. And so that's Scott. And like I said, you know, Scott and Don with Impact, I'm not too hard on them because there are Canadians represented on there. And, you know, we have the Fight Network here. We have TV programming. They want to get people watching. Obviously, you need that Canadian content. But when there are companies like MLW, Ring of Honor, that are claiming to be international and their neighbor to the north is not represented except by one or two people, there is a great disconnect there on my part. And so when the fact is we're that much closer to Baltimore, where Ring of Honor has their base of operations, we're closer to there than people in Florida, than people in California, et cetera, et cetera. So is it just that they don't want to see us? Is it that they don't know? I don't know. I don't have those answers. Like I said, I would love for any of their executives to come on here and talk with me or come on my show and talk to me because I want to shed some light on this. And I have been working on this. I have been reaching out to Canadians that have made it in this business to see if they can lend their voices to my cause too. And I mean, we're talking going right up the top of the food chain, and people might think I'm overstepping, but I mean, no, you know, I want to reach out to the Bret Harts, the Lance Storms, to people who can help to either join my cause or add knowledge to it so I can continue this crusade forward and help get people noticed.
Like some time ago, there was a rumor that NXT Canada was gonna start up. Do you think that'll ever materialize?
I don't think it will, nor do I think it should. We don't need it. NXT
Okay.
Canada is an acknowledgement that we are some different branch. You got to remember, we're all Americans. Just because we're not part of the United States doesn't mean we're not part of North America. So we're all Americans when it comes down to it. Why do we need segregation to say NXT Canada when really it should just be that they routinely look and try out people here in Canada, the same way they do with the UK, the same way they do with the Arab Emirates, the same way they do with India? Why are we this redheaded stepchild who is literally closer to them in proximity than people that they just hire on a whim from their own country? It doesn't make sense. We don't need an NXT Canada. What we need is better scouting. We need people to know we exist. And it shouldn't take this guy from Montreal to be the one to have the common sense to come to that conclusion. It's like I said, you got a lot of people there, a lot of people with a lot of wrestling savvy, you know, a lot of education and all these things. I just have a black belt in common sense and at verbalizing things in a way people can understand. That's all it comes down to. So like I said, I would welcome any of them. Again, I don't want to challenge people, but I would welcome any of them to come on and engage in this discussion with me and hear the hustle of someone who's been on the streets as to dealing with this issue, and maybe give me their perspective as to what they are doing so that the generation behind me can better understand and have a better shot.
All right, man. I agree with you, man. I don't think we need an NXT Canada. I agree with you 100% on that, man. And I like how you said you have a black belt in common knowledge. That was a great line, man. I need to get a black belt in common knowledge. I only have a yellow belt right now, so. But let's switch gears. Let's talk about Wrestle Center because it's the first time I ever saw you was Wrestle Center. I actually wrote a review on Wrestle Center Voltage 5 years ago for a website. Main event was you versus Steve Arsenault. And you cut a promo, which I thought was fantastic. You said, you feel you're at a dairy farm with all the fat cows in the crowd. I thought that was hilarious, man. Did that something that just came to your head, or did you use that promo often?
Much like you and I here in this discussion, 99% of my promos are just stuff off the cuff.
Okay.
I got a background in comedy improv. I actually placed fourth. My team did when I competed in it here in Montreal back in my high school days. And I just like going off the cuff. I got stuff that comes to mind. I kind of look at myself like a freestyle artist, like a rapper who kind of likes to just kind of freestyle it and throw things out there. You got to feel a crowd, you got to feel a room and know it's going to work. So I think that particular promo came from me looking around and saying, there are some real necks out in here. Some people that you wouldn't catch them on a dairy farm. You wouldn't catch them in any kind of a sophisticated urban environment. So that's kind of where that came from. I'm glad that line got a laugh out of you. Funny story is Kurt Angle was also there during that episode.
Okay.
And Kurt Angle was there performing, and Too Cold Scorpio, someone who I consider like a father to me in this wrestling business, someone who's mentored me a lot, literally lived down the street from me for close to 2 years actually here in Montreal. Not a lot of people know that, but he lived a few blocks from me, and we spent a lot of time together. He mentored me, taught me a lot of things. I consider Too Cold Scorpio like a father. He was also there, and he told me that my promo actually made Kurt Angle totally crack up and laugh backstage. And to me, that's a great compliment, because Kurt Angle, he's known for his mic work. I mean, he's known for a lot of things, but especially for his great mic work. So if I could bring a smile to his face and he could recognize that what I was saying out there was entertaining to him, I take that as a badge of honor. So I guess I have my moments on the microphone. I definitely don't shy away from it. And I think that the power of the spoken word goes such a long way. Hence why I fell in love with podcasting. But no, I love to talk, man. I mean, I consider myself good in all aspects of wrestling. In ring, on the mic, the way I look, the way I present myself. Those are just tools that I sharpen on a daily basis. I'm ready yesterday for when that big call is going to come. So you want to put a microphone in front of me. You want me to preach a sermon. I don't mind being in front of the camera, having the mic on, and being able to enlighten the masses with the sounds of my soothing, seductive voice on a daily basis.
Okay, man. Great stuff. So, but I also wrote that Jeremy Prophet is a great talent who I look forward to seeing more in the weeks to come at wrestling. So I wrote that 5 years ago. So I became a fan 5 years ago, man.
Well, I appreciate that. Appreciate the kind words. And I had some great memories from Wrestle Center. They treated me extremely well. I had met those guys before Wrestle Center was even a thing. They came in as a crew with UCW in Nova Scotia. And they took a liking to me, and I think it has to do with the fact that I'm very comfortable in front of a camera and on a microphone. I relish the opportunity to have it. If you could put a microphone in front of me at every wrestling show I did, I think I'd be happier than a pig in mud. And that was how it kind of started with me and those guys. And then when they started their own promotion, they had wanted me to be a cornerstone of it. And unfortunately, there were a lot of scheduling conflicts. So I wasn't able to do all the shows that Wrestle Center wanted. But every time I was there, they treated me like royalty. And it's a shame that the promotion isn't still going. But I still talk to those guys every so often. They're all good dudes. And I think they did a lot of good for wrestling out in the Maritimes, which is another scene that not a lot of people know about. And they're fortunate to be able to get to wrestle even more than we do here in Montreal, because there are tours going on out there all the time. So again, another hotbed of wrestling, but always, good people, good memories. And, I liked Wrestle Center. I think I had a lot of banger matches there, kicked a lot of ass. And I just had a great time. No bad memories of that whatsoever.
All right, man. Yeah, I was going to ask, because a lot of wrestlers have had negative experiences with Wrestle Center. I don't want to say any names, but I was going to ask you what your experience was like. But you had a very positive experience with them.
Well, that's news to me, because every time we would come down, the Montreal crew. So I went down there with several guys. I went down there with Velvet Jones. I went down with Mike Bailey. None of us ever had a bad experience there. We're always treated well. I think we always delivered for the fans. We're always paid. Again, I don't know what these issues are that maybe other talent had with them, but I know that with us, I was always paid, taken care of, got us a nice hotel, did everything short of flying us over on a private jet and giving us a limo. But when it comes down to it, they were some of the first guys that gave me some good opportunities, gave me opportunities to do not just promos, but to do segments. They're TV guys. Gave me great opponents in the ring. I don't think I had one bad match for them. So it's unfortunate to hear that other people have had negative experiences, But I can only judge on how I was treated, and I always got the first class treatment from those guys.
All right, cool. Fair enough, man. I still occasionally talk to Jason. I say, Jason, when are you going to start up Wrestle Center again? And he's like, probably never. So, but no,
he had some other TV projects in mind that he wanted to do too, some reality stuff, and he'd even contacted me about that, and I was looking forward to participating. But I mean, I got to admit, you piqued my curiosity here, and you know, if you don't want to talk about it on the air, I would be curious to know, even if you just want to tell me off air, what some of the issues are, because again, I can only weigh those against my experiences and maybe help to debunk where the truth might be. Because, you know, I'm not foolish enough to think that the way I get treated is the way that everyone gets treated. That's clearly not the case throughout my life. And, you know, I have a good amount of respect for those guys. So I would like to actually offer a contrary opinion, whether on air or off air. Again, we don't have to talk about it on here. I'm sure there's a lot of other things you want to get to.
Yeah, no, I could talk. I'll send him. We'll message after this. I don't want to talk about it here. And you mentioned Maritimes, the wrestling Maritimes. I'm a big fan of the Maritimes. Covey Christ, Marcus Burke, so much talent out there, and gonna see big things from them. And hopefully you get out there. Kaizen Pro Wrestling. We'd love to see you there. You'll be great in Kaizen Pro Wrestling, and lots of stuff out there. But we'll see what happens out there. But you're from Montreal, and I want to ask, being an intelligent man, I could tell. I was able to tell right from the beginning. Very intelligent man. Montreal screw job, real or work?
There is no doubt in my mind that the Montreal screw job, in pretty much all its aspects, was real. Okay. And I'll take it from the perspective of a friend of mine who I know very well, and he was working in the hotel where the wrestlers were staying. It's a bit of a perspective that not a lot of people know about. But he was working in a hotel where all the talent was staying, and he had told me that after it was over, Brett was there and was like a downtrodden man. He was like a beaten dog after this was done. I mean, they went in and they robbed Brett of his soul with what they did to him, and how downright rotten the whole thing was. And he saw Brett just, you know, break down at the bar in the hotel along with his guys, along with Bulldog, along with the others, after it was over. If that was any kind of a work, I don't see why he would have carried on like that. I can understand how people may think that it could have been a work constructed to, you know, give Brett somewhat of a hero send-off, launch the evil Mr. McMahon character. But the reality of it is that Brett's career was done way more harm than good in that happening. WWE managed to spin it in a way that was still beneficial to them, but ultimately they put the knife in the back of their most loyal soldier. What they did to Brett was totally wrong, and it just speaks volumes to the way they treat their talent. You know, they use them up for all they're worth, take them out back, put a bullet in their head, and that's it. You know, they're just off with them, execution style. We don't want anyone else to use them after we milk them dry of everything they had, and it still goes on today. You know, they don't care. You know, Vince McMahon has said on record, he takes no responsibility for talent once they're out of his hands. So that's what it comes down to, the Montreal screw job. It was just a more elaborate version of what they do to talent on a yearly basis. To end on a positive note, I appreciate you referring to me as an intelligent man. And like I say, it's not a case of intelligence and education. It's a case of common sense. And common sense is the reason why this world has a lot of A+ students that are working for C+ students, because common sense is a lost commodity. And even when it comes down to people considered the best, if you're the best in anything, the best doesn't mean you're the toughest, you're the strongest, you're the fastest. The best means that you're the smartest. And that's something that I like to live by, is that common sense is invaluable, and it'll go a lot further than just about any other attribute.
Okay. Fair enough. I thought it might have been a work. The only reason why I say that, but I do believe it was real, but I was thinking it might have been a work because they were filming the documentary, Wrestling with Shadows, Bret Hart, Wrestling with Shadows, during the time that was happening. I thought maybe they just wanted to put that as the ending to make the documentary seem a little more interesting.
Well, WWE didn't make any money off of it.
Okay,
and,
okay,
you know,
okay.
If we know there's one God they serve, that's the almighty dollar when it comes to the tribe of McMahon. So, you know, they didn't make anything off of that, as far as I know. Again, everyone's allowed to have their theories. If we don't have contrary views, then, it's going to retard education in general. But when it comes down to it, they did such a bad thing to Brett. I don't see any realm of possibility where he would have gone along with that willingly, with how bad it made him look. And I think that Brett had creative control in his contract at that point. So I don't doubt that the documentary was something that he may have negotiated for on his part, if anything, to maybe have guys there that, keep an eye out, because he knew there was tension in the air and he was coming upon a time in his career where, they were willing to pull the rug out on him. So that's kind of how I see the Montreal Screwjob. As for its impact on me, I was there when it happened. I was in attendance. And
wow.
I think that it was something that actually helped to propel an entire generation to want to make a difference, to want to be wrestlers, and to want to avenge what happened. Because the more I talked to people, tons of other wrestlers were there, and they said that was the moment that launched them into wanting to have a career, into wanting to be the best. After seeing that happen to Brett, seeing a great Canadian more or less suffer a public execution in front of his fellow compatriots. So I think that locally, it actually had a good impact on the wrestling scene and the fans. And that's why when they come to Montreal, Montreal is rowdy. Montreal is raucous. Montreal, it's like the Attitude Era never ended in Montreal. No matter what kind of, PG, Barnum and Bailey's kids circus they want to bring along here, the crowd always remembers. I mean, I remember being there, going to tons of shows, and people were conspiring to say, hey, we can't you screw Brett from start to finish. We're going to start it in the dark matches. It's going to go all night long. We're going to let them know. Like, I saw people straight up jump on Vince McMahon's limo with him, Triple H, Stephanie, Triple H, Stephanie in the limo, and fans jump on the limo, and security have to remove them.
Wow.
That's how crazy the fans are here. Montreal is, I'll put that crowd up against any crowd. That crowd is as hot as Philly in the heyday of ECW. That crowd is like Puerto Rico in the mid 90s. These Montreal fans, they are passionate people. And maybe that's why I get so fired up, because I grew up around this. And it's always been a sentiment that, as cliche as it sounds, you got to give the people what they want. And if you hear the people, you don't have to fear the people. Unfortunately, WWE, they think they got everything. They think they got the cure to cancer. So, they don't listen to any crowds. And us here in Montreal, we don't stand for that. We don't stand for that. You're gonna listen to us. You're gonna take notice, or else there's gonna be hell to pay.
All right. You actually had a match in the WWE a few years ago. What do you remember about that match and that experience?
I had a lot of fun, man.
Okay.
I was that for me was what I had worked for up to that point. I felt I belonged. And just that feeling of walking through Gorilla, seeing old man Vince there with his headset and his glasses on, and, giving him the look and being like, I'm ready for this, and him giving me a nod back. See, people think because I take these little shots at Vince and at his product that I don't respect him. I respect the hell out of Vince McMahon. I just think that he needs to have, at least 1 foot in reality, not 2 feet inside his own bubble, surrounded by a bunch of beta male yes men. And when it comes down to my match that I did there, I mean, I had a lot of fun. The second I walked out the curtain, I was like, I could die tomorrow, and this is mission accomplished. And it's a shame that I've soured so much on the company because of the new direction they took, with the start of NXT and the new staff members and their new protocol and whatnot. But all that to say, at that point, I was happy. I got in there. I was loose. I remember my partner, Tyler Turva, he was a little nervous. We joked about that recently at a show for PWE in Oshawa, where we did a little reunion ever since that match. And he was a little nervous, but me, I was loose. And I was telling him, nah, man, this is good. We gotta soak in the moment. We are stars tonight. I got in the ring. I remember I went up on the ropes, and I feel like everyone was kind of like, oh, you shouldn't have done that. Like, why not? Why? No one told me not to do it. I work for this company. They can't fire me. I mean, I guess they could. I guess at that point they are paying me to go in there and do a match, so they could fire me. But that's always my thing. Is I'm like, I'm there. I'm not nervous. I'm there to make friends. I belong. I have confidence, and confidence, I guess, is something that you can't teach. But it's just like, these are just people that God willed that they get there before I do. So they're not these idols that are far above me. These are just other people doing the same job. Some of them with inferior, some of them with superior skills. Anyways, all that to say, I had a great time. I had fun. Worked with two great professionals, Kurt Hawkins, Lance Archer, great guys behind the scenes, in the ring. They took care of me, and I wanted to take care of them, make them look as good as possible. And I think if you watch that match, I think there was a great synergy amongst us. And even though it was short, it wasn't a long time, but it was a good time. And I think we all had a good time and all made each other look great.
All right, man. So if there was one promotion that you could sign with today, what would that promotion be? Would it be Impact, MLW? What promotion would it be if you could sign with one promotion right now?
Whichever one gives me a work visa and allows me to take my talent stateside and show the world what they've been missing out on. Because I'm probably the greatest wrestler that not enough people have heard of. I know my skills and talents in every aspect of wrestling are world class. I just have not been given that stage to be able to showcase that. So it doesn't matter if it's Impact. I love Impact. I watch their show every week. It could be Impact. It could be AEW. I watch their show every week. Love what they're doing. It could be Ring of Honor, where I got a ton of guys there, probably more guys in that promotion, Ring of Honor, that I've worked with and done outstanding matches with than any of the others. It could be New Japan. I got to admit, MLW, I felt a little dissed by them because, hey, I think that we could have a good thing. I still do. But especially, if you want to get into the Canadian market, which I do see you guys on BN TV or BN Sport or whatever the channel is. I see you guys got programming on there. But again, I feel a little bit dissed. And, I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat it and act like everything is all fine and roses and ponies when that did happen. All that to say, I do still think I could be a good fit there, and I think I could be pretty much a good fit for any of the major promotions. NXT, WWE, that's come and gone. Like I said, I'd be a fool if I said if they were the only ones offering me a deal, I would say no. But, they would not be my first, second, third, fourth, or probably even fifth choice. Just telling it like it is.
Okay. I know I haven't watched it yet, but I think on the latest Joe from the Ring, you talk about why Ring of Honor should sign Jeremy Prophet. So why should Ring of Honor Jeremy Prophet, or do you want us to watch the podcast to learn that?
It's as simple as to show that they have a base level common sense semblance of intellect. They should. That's simple. Let's face it. We've done a lot of good work, myself and Pierre Carl Ouellette. We've built up a great story. We get the highest views of any of their content that they put out on a weekly basis online. So, highest viewed show. I'm the co-star. It seems like a natural fit. I'm not asking for a Best Supporting Actor award here from the Oscars. Just an opportunity to get out there and show what I can do. There's only so much you can see from a video. It's why I say that it's unfortunate that we can't perform in the United States because, you watch a video and there are things you can see, but there is a lot that you can't see. You can't feel the atmosphere. You can't feel the ambiance of what that performance generates to the live crowd. You can hear sound, but you don't get the feel of what's generated. I always look at myself as a performer and I say, you know what? I'm not a musician. I do wish that perhaps I could have learned how to play an instrument, but I never learned that. However, I look at myself as a conductor and I look at the audience as my orchestra and I play the orchestra. That is my talent as a performer, amongst others, is to take the fans on that roller coaster ride, to bring them through the highs and lows of matches, the struggle of good and evil. I'm the conductor playing the orchestra. And that's something that doesn't translate to a video on YouTube. You have to really be there to feel it, to see it. And it's unfortunate that I don't get the chance to sink my fangs into a lot of the so-called top talents out there to show how what I bring to the table can be the missing ingredient to getting them to that next level, to have that chemistry with me and give the fans what they want to see. So yeah, it doesn't matter what company it is. I just want that opportunity to go in there and show what I bring to the table. And I ain't gonna stop. There's no stop to my hustle. There's no relenting to my grind. I feel I'm getting better and better every day, even if I'm not able to wrestle because of this unfortunate, God blessed pandemic that we're living through. I'm still sharpening my tools, studying my craft, working on my body, perfecting my mic skills, pretty much anything I can work on without being in a physical in a match, so that when that call comes, I'm ready to go. Like I said, I'm ready yesterday. So for me, it's put up or shut up. Whether you see me and you're sick of the sound of my voice and hearing the same rhetoric, or you're going to actually see me and say, hey, you know what? Maybe this kid's really got the goods. Let's give him a shot. Like I said, I always like to use the hip hop reference. I don't know. Are you a fan of rap hip hop?
I am. Yes.
Okay.
I am. Yeah.
So I always like to use the reference that I'm like the 50 Cent of Canadian wrestling, because 50 Cent was a guy who had, a lot of guts, a lot of balls, and he had the skills, but people didn't want to take notice until he said he's going to start taking names. He's going to force everyone to take notice. He is going to get rich or die trying. And eventually, no matter how many haters 50 Cent had, he managed to tank through them, believe in himself, and then get noticed by Dr. Dre and Eminem. So I'm pretty much like 50 Cent. I'm going to be kicking ass and taking names. And eventually, I know my Dr. Dre and Eminem will see what I got, and they will be the benefactors to help me overcome the obstacles that stand in my way. And that's what it is. I've always kind of looked to people like 50 Cent, people like Ice Cube. These are a lot of my inspirations. NWA. These were guys like NWA, for example, when the rap game was all Sugar Hill Gang and, they were, just all about, happy, fun time. It took these guys to come along and bring the harsh realities to the forefront. That's what people needed to hear. I'm just trying to do the same thing, because the wrestling game now has become sci-fi. It's become comedy. The violence, the reality is what's missing. And I think I can bring that element by bringing reality to the table, because we're living in the harshest times ever. People are dying on a daily basis more than ever. And, people are living in poverty. People don't know how they're going to pay their bills the next day. People don't know where their next meal is going to come from. We can't all be, jiggy and bourgeoisie in wrestling and not reflect the harsh realities of the world. And, one of my talents, I guess, is maybe escalating things, but it takes the realism in all aspects to make people engage and want to see. And if you're only serving up, comedy, sci-fi, that kind of thing, there's a group of fans that are missing out on what they want to see when they don't want their intelligence to be insulted by their programming. And I definitely think that I'm the chosen one who can actually reflect that in what I do. So that's what I attempt to do. And, I draw my inspiration from those people. At the same time, I draw a lot of inspiration from someone like Jackie Robinson, who, he had to fight his way through the Negro leagues to make it to the major leagues to finally get that opportunity, because he had to be better than every person not of color who already had those spots, and for someone to finally take that shot on him. I'm not saying this is a race thing or a color thing, not at all. Just saying that as Canadians, we're kind of that denigrated, forgotten group of people. And literally, by definition, to acquire a work visa, you have to show that you are an exceptional talent compared to an American. So I'm just trying to break those barriers. I'm trying to trailblaze. And thankfully, I got big enough shoulders and thick enough skin to tank through any haters and anyone who would want to stop my momentum from being able to do that and break that barrier. If I could do that, I can die a happy man.
Dude, let me tell you something. You are absolutely fantastic. There was no doubt in my mind that you are going to be an absolute star. Someone's going to sign you soon, man. You said you're trying to perfect your promo. I think you've perfected your talking ability. You're a fantastic talker. You're an incredible talent, and any promotion that doesn't sign you is just absolutely insane, man. I've watched a few matches with you, and but to talk to you now and to hear you talking, to hear the passion, dude. If a promotion doesn't sign you soon, they're out of their minds, man. Out of their minds.
Well, I try to stay humble as much as possible. I appreciate your kind words. Fact of the matter is this is just a reflection of what I do on a daily basis. I live this, and I am perfecting my hustle. I'm sharpening all my tools, because I know that they will need to be on display. I talk a big game, and in life, you can't talk these kinds of things and say the kinds of things and make the claims that I make if you can't back them up. And so I'm not here trying to waste people's time and for them to see an interview and say, wow, this guy really talks the talk, but, can he deliver? No. I want to leave no doubts, and I can't leave any doubts. I have to be twice as good as the people out there, because right now, where I am, what I'm doing, we're not being seen. It takes someone to do that and step up to the plate and say, we are going to leave no doubt. You want to put me on a live mic? Put me on a live mic. I will entertain. You want to send me out to the ring? You want to give me 5, 6, 7, you want to give me an hour? I can get the job done for you. You need someone that looks good on a poster that people are going to look at. People are going to walk down the street, see, and take a second look at whether they want to or not. That's going to be me. Like I said, I've got all the tools. I'm just waiting for the big enough stage so I can show that to the world, and I can make whichever company has the foresight to say, this guy is the real deal. to make them a lot of money. That's all it is. I'm a very humble guy when the camera turns off, but when the camera's on, I know that I got to make every word count, because these are the only opportunities I'm getting, especially in these rough times where wrestling is looking more and more like it's going to become a thing of the past. You know, I got to fight tooth and nail every single day. And I appreciate someone like yourself giving me this platform. It really is a blessing to be able to come on here and get these ideas out there to you and your listenership. And if anyone does want to help, hey, the power of social media is one of the most underrated tools right now, because there are no borders when it comes to the internet. So there is no stopping how far a word can travel. So if you want to get on the Jeremy Prophet bandwagon, by all means, get the words out there. They will have to listen. And it's like I say, if you hear the people, you don't have to fear the people. So if we need to rally the people and we need to put some fear into those big companies to know that they might be missing out on some good money left on the table, that someone else might come and swoop up, then by all means, you people have the power. You can do it if you want to see me in a better place and you want to see my fellow Canadians also getting those same opportunities. Because once I'm there, I'm going to make sure that I not only open that door, I'm going to break it down and make sure that we can get all us Canadians in a better place. And you can hold me accountable to that. You know, you can find this great evergreen content that is going to be timeless, and you can say, hey, you know, you made it, but what have you been doing for everybody else? It's like the mentality of FUBU, you know, for us, by us. So once I get there, the floodgates will be open for everyone else. And who knows, if someone gets there before me, maybe my message will get to them and they can help us too. Because we as Canadians, you know, we're a nation built on sticking together. We're not a nation that's built on diversity and Democrats and Republicans and people of different values. No, we are all Canadian. You know, we are all the same here, you know, in all our sons command. So I know that we're a nation that sticks together and we got to start helping each other. That's pretty much my message.
All right, man. All right, man. I got one more question and then we'll wrap this up. You've been around for a long, long time.
And I'd be willing to go even longer with you, man. My time is yours.
Okay, a few more questions then. So been around for 15 years. What would you consider is your greatest accomplishment in professional wrestling?
I would say being able to perform for the WWE, even though it's something that can happen to pretty much anybody, right place, right time. You know, they scout a lot of people to be extras. So in the grand scheme of things, I think it's a great accomplishment, but it's more a case of right place, right time, stars aligning. I mean, I wouldn't look at my accomplishments like, you know, I have championship belts here behind me, but really that just means that a company had enough confidence in me to allow me to be that champion at the time. I would say my greatest accomplishment and the thing I am most proud of is I've done this for 15 years, put a lot of smiles on a lot of faces, brought people to anger, tears, made them live a whole gamut of emotions. But for me as a performer, the thing I'm most proud of is I've done this for 15 years. I've never suffered an injury, never had a broken bone, never had a concussion. My brain is fully intact. Had a few bumps and bruises, but I like that. You know, wrestling's a physical, violent sport. And I come from a sporting background. You know, I played hockey for 15 years. You know, I've done a lot of other sports, you know, baseball, track and field. I'm an athletic guy. But I'm most proud of the fact that I've done this 15 years safely, uninjured, unharmed, no concussions. And, you know, I feel great. And wrestling has taught me a lot of great lessons about life. And one of the main ones is, you know, to live a professional lifestyle, to eat well, to train every day. You know, to never be satisfied and be complacent, you know, to always want to achieve more, to never get comfortable. And, you know, these are lessons that maybe had I decided to go down another path, I wouldn't have had the chance to learn. So it's taught me a lot of responsibility. And this business should be about what you put in is what you get out. Unfortunately, it's not. It's a business of who you know and who knows you. But when it comes down to it, I learned a lot of great life lessons. The business has taught me so much. I think made me a much better person. And I'm very thankful for that. And I mean, I could go on and on. I love this business. I never fell out of love with it. I never took any time off. Is another thing I'm proud of too, is 15 years, never had any burnout, never had any, I don't feel like wrestling. I've never missed a show. You know, it's what I love doing. And I think that the business needs people who are passionate about it, not people who are, fly by night, want to make easy money, get complacent, want to do the same match every night. I'm proud of the fact that you can watch any Jeremy Prophet match from any time in my 15 years, and you will not see the same match. You're not going to see the same moves in the same order. You always get a different match. Hell, call me the man of a million moves, because I have a huge repertoire and I have a different story to tell all the time. That's the fun of wrestling, is, knowing the destination, but always finding different paths to get there. And I think that's another thing that separates me from a lot of talent, is that I'm hungry. I want to learn more. I'll do any style. I will compete against any opponent, and I'll give them a hell of a fight. They can be a 7 foot, 300, 400-pound giant. They can be a 4 foot midget. They're going to get a hell of a fight out of Jeremy Prophet, and the people are going to get their money's worth. Because at the end of the day, I don't look at it as, I'm wrestling for me. I'm wrestling for my opponent. Unfortunately, for the longest time, I never looked at it as I'm wrestling for a promoter, despite the fact that he's putting money in my pocket. I looked at it as I'm wrestling for the person who is working 2 jobs to be able to bring their kids to see a wrestling show. I'm working for the person who maybe has to, give up certain things in their day-to-day life to afford that VIP ticket to be able to see me. I don't want that person going home saying, I didn't get my money's worth. I don't care if the rest of the guys want to not give the people what they expect to see. I want them to remember that at least one guy on the show had the moxie to step up his game and make their ticket worth its value.
You ever consider becoming an instructor, like opening a wrestling school? I think you'll be a fantastic instructor.
Well, that's quite a compliment you pay me. I appreciate it. Yeah, sure. Down the line, why not? I mean, I'm the proud owner of 2 wrestling rings, which are more or less collecting dust right now.
Okay.
Maybe that could be something down the line. I think I have a lot of knowledge to impart, but for now, my focus is on making it to a bigger stage where people will be able to associate the name value and notoriety that I brought to the wrestling industry to any other venture that I would go to. But I mean, I love wrestling. I'm not one of these, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson types that's get into wrestling to get out and go make movies. I love wrestling. I love the physicality of it. I love the Shakespearean showmanship that goes along with it. Wrestling, you got to be a leading man, but you got to be your own stunt man. You got to be a comedian and an improv comedian, and you get only one take. There's really no other industry where you can get that same kind of satisfaction. So, that's what I love about it.
Who's your all-time favorite wrestler? Roddy Piper is my all-time favorite. Who's your all-time favorite?
From the day I first saw the wrestling game itself, Bret the Hitman Hart.
Okay.
He was the first match I ever saw, and by all means, I'm not going to ever believe anyone else is the best there is, was, or ever will be, other than Bret Hart. Not just because he's Canadian, but because Bret was the best. Bret could face anyone, and Bret never had a boring match. There's nothing I dislike more than watching boring wrestling. And Bret's matches were all classics, no matter who he faced. So all time, Bret the Hitman Hart.
Okay, fair enough, man. He had a great match with Roddy Piper for the Intercontinental title. That
he did.
Terrific match, man. So do you have a favorite all-time match featuring yourself? I know you've been around, like I said, 15 years. Is there one match that you would say is my favorite match?
Yeah, it always changes. I have a couple of matches I would say would be my favorites, but for different reasons. Like I did a great match a few years back with Speedball Mike Bailey, one of my absolute best friends in the wrestling business. Like as close to me as a brother, Speedball Bailey. And I think that when you get in there with someone who you're that close with, it's always going to be magic because you know each other. You can hit each other a little bit harder, and you're not going to take it personally, and they're not going to take it personally. So there's a lot more freedom, and just creatively, he's someone like me. He's someone who's always chomping at the bit, who always wants to be better, and we push each other to new levels. I also had a great match a couple of years back with Jay Lethal, who oftentimes I get in the ring with people, and no slight, no disrespect on a lot of the great opponents I've faced over the years, but I feel there are certain people, they melt under pressure. They melt when the intensity level starts to raise. So I start, teeing off on them. I'm not getting the same intensity back. Maybe I will up to a certain point, but then either due to cardio deficiencies or due to simply people not wanting to escalate the battle to that kind of a level of intensity and violence, they melt. So I kind of have to scale things down to keep up with them, to make it comfortable for them, I should say. With Jay Lethal, this was one of the first times, and this would have been back in, I think, 2012 or 2013, that I stepped in there with someone, and as I'm escalating the match, as I'm picking up the pace, I'm laying into them. They're hitting me back just as hard. And it's like, okay, wow, we're into uncharted waters here. I didn't know I could hit someone this hard and they're going to be coming back to me like this. Now we're really getting this match, and the people are coming along with us. So I have a special place in my heart for that match with Jay Lethal, because I think we tore the house down in a match that was very close to my hometown, probably about 10 minutes from where I grew up. And in front of my local fans, I was privileged and blessed to have an opponent as talented as Jay, as dynamically talented. So that match definitely has a special place in my heart too. The match with Jay Lethal. And, my resume speaks for itself. I've had the chance to share the ring with up-and-comers, Hall of Famers, future Hall of Famers. So, I've had a lot of great opponents, but to me, those two matches always stick out in my mind.
What about dream matches? Someone that you've never stepped in the ring with? Do you have one? Have you ever wrestled Rob Van Dam or no?
No, we
Okay.
came very close
Okay.
in IWS. Actually, I think it was last year.
Okay.
They had brought him in for a show, and I maybe didn't lobby hard enough for that match with Rob, but I would have loved it. I think that I could have fit into the match because it was a triple threat. Could have easily been a four-way. They could have given me a one-on-one, but I would have loved to face Rob for those same reasons that, Rob Van Dam was someone I looked up to when I was younger. And what I loved about Rob was that Rob was a bigger guy, but he was extremely athletic. So, I'm a medium-sized guy, I would say, by wrestling standards. I stand about 6 feet on a good day, between 200 to 220, depending on what my diet and what kind of look I'm going for. But, I'm also athletic. You're going to see moonsaults, 450s, dives to the outside when it makes sense, of course. But I like that about Rob. I think that we had similar skill sets in that regard. And I think that I could have helped to push him to a match that he would have enjoyed, a very ECW style match, because I'm also pretty indestructible. Like I said, 15 years, no injuries. Maybe I knocked on a lot of wood. I don't believe in it, but, I'm not going to knock on any wood now because I haven't been, and it's been working. When it comes down to it, I can take punishment in there, because in the business, it ain't about how hard you get hit, or how hard you hit, I should say. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep coming forward. So that's a bit of a mantra for me. And I think that Van Dam, he's one of the hardest hitters in the game. So you mix those two into a cocktail, a chemistry, it's going to be a treat for the fans. Unfortunately, it didn't happen, but it may still happen down the line. So yeah, RVD would be a dream match. And another one would be with Chris Jericho, because he's someone who had a huge influence on my career. I recently did that 90s podcast, the top-rated podcast in the UK with the great James. And I had explained about how I met Chris Jericho. Actually, the first interview I ever did for wrestling was with Chris Jericho back in 2004, as I was just getting my feet wet in the business. And he was kind enough to give me close to an hour of his time for that interview, gave me some great advice, told me that this is going to be the hardest thing you ever do, but if you keep working at it, you will make it. He said, look at me, I made it, but understand, it's going to be harder than anything you've ever done. But if you work hard enough, you will make it. And I've kept those words close to my heart ever since. Jericho's been a huge inspiration. Had the chance to meet him at his concert they did here in Montreal for Fozzy, which I had done that interview with him to promote. He was kind enough to bring me backstage, give me kind words of advice. And so I think that while Le Champion's still going strong in AEW, I would love to be able to have the chance to step in the ring with him. I do think there's a lot of similarities there between us also. And I hope that match would happen just to kind of culminate everything, bring that full circle with the impact that he's had on my career.
Okay, man. So before we wrap this up, is there anything you want to plug? Merchandise, social media, anything you want to plug, man? Go right ahead, man.
Yeah, well, I don't need to plug merch. I have merch available, but, you guys can contact me personally. I may come across as being, a little larger than life here, but the fact is I'm a normal guy, just like you, Lewis, just like everybody out there watching. I put my pants on one leg at a time every morning. So you want to message me for merch, you can message me. I don't have a pro wrestling tease. I don't need to push merch. Like I'm financially comfortable in my life. I don't need merch. I can pay my bills. But if you really like what you hear and would like to own it just for the sake of owning it, not necessarily for supporting me, you don't need to support me. If you want to support me, just get the good word out there that I'm a can't miss prospect, once in a lifetime performer that could do a lot of good in a lot of companies. I don't have merch. Unless, again, if you absolutely want it, yeah, I can get you a t-shirt or something. But again, I don't need pity money. Just, if you want it, get in touch with me. Where you can find me is on Twitter. And I am looking to, get more Twitter followers. And, I'm not someone with hidden DMs. You want to talk to me? You can talk to me. You want to tell me you loved the interview, you hated it, you want to know more about it? I'll be happy to talk with you. I'm a very approachable guy. You can find me on Twitter at Jeremy Prophet. That's JeremyProphet. And you can also find me on Instagram at The Real Jeremy Prophet. And I don't have a YouTube page, but if you go to Jofo in the Ring on YouTube, you can see a lot of my matches, interviews, pretty much everything relating to me. You can find it on there. You can also hear me every week on Jofo in the Ring. So, you want to give a follow to at Frank Jofo on Twitter. You can also find us on Instagram. You can hear me on there pretty much saying a lot of the same stuff I say on here and getting to interact with a lot of other wrestlers. We got a lot of great interviews coming up. I don't know when this is going to be coming out, but by the time it does, you'll probably be able to see our interviews with Just Incredible. I know that one's already up. We got Sabu coming on the show. I'm going to actually also be appearing on another podcast called Recap, Rewind, Relive alongside Sabu. So you're going to get a double dose of me and the homicidal, genocidal, suicidal one. And we got a lot of great content. We got The Godfather coming up too. So if you want to see me exchanging ideas with these people, you may not get to see us in a ring wrestling each other, but you'll definitely get to see us, engage in a battle of wits or in a friendly conversation, if you will, on our channel at Jofo in the Ring. So that's how you can find me. That's how you can follow me. And I also hope that maybe we can do this again sometime, Lewis. I hope I haven't been too long-winded with my answers. Hope I've kept you entertained here on a Sunday afternoon. And I hope that the people watching at home have also been entertained. And if you want more of this, hey, I'm not a hard man to find. And my time is always for the people.
Well, Jeremy, thank you so much. And yes, let's do this again really soon. I loved interviewing you because I could ask a question and you're not giving me a one-sentence answer. You're giving me a long, great answer for everything I've asked. Absolute pleasure having you on. And I wish you nothing but the best of luck. And again, let's do this again real soon, man.
Thank you. You are a kind man. You are a gentleman. And anytime you want to have me on, just let me know, and it'll be a pleasure to be on here again.
Okay, man. Well, let's do it, man. Let's do it. So this has been the Alliance Pro Wrestling Network Sunday special interview. Again, want to thank my guest, Jeremy Prophet. Until next time, thank you very much. Take care. Bye-bye. Stay safe, everyone. So long. Bye-bye.